My husband and I have been minimalists and nomads for the last 16 years, and I recently shared a video about the fact that we've lived on cruise ships for the last 3 years. In this video, I'm going to answer the number one question that I get. How in the heck do we afford this? I'm going to start by sharing all of my expenses, both monthly and annual, both cruise related and not cruise related. Let's start with the three factors that enable me to live on cruise ships full time.
One, remote work and early retirement. Until recently, I worked full-time as an IT consultant from my cabin stateroom or from anywhere on the cruise ship. It was actually really surreal to work while watching the ocean go by. During the past few years, I followed the FIRE, Financial Independence Retire Early method, saving roughly half my salary and investing it strategically. I'll have a whole other video on exactly how I did that in the future. And in April 2026, I decided to end my corporate career on my own terms. I feel free, I feel happy and excited, and I feel like I'm finally able to focus on things that I really want to do. Number two is cruise affordability. Cruises are actually way more affordable than a lot of people think, even if you never set foot in a casino. When you break it down by the daily cost for two people, the numbers are often surprisingly low. Repositioning cruises or one-way cruises are a great way to take a long cruise with a lot of sea days and experience that while also getting a really great price. Here's one, for example, that's from Royal Caribbean for $795 for 15 nights. It goes from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Barcelona, Spain. Also, there's just constant sales going on. So take a look at each of the cruise lines and see what they have to offer. They usually have some sort of a big splashy screen on their home page. Princess and the other cruise lines have very similar kind of deals going on all the time. Once you take a cruise and log in, you could get additional offers for even better deals as well. Most of the major cruise lines offer what's called last minute deals. So if you're flexible in your schedule and you can cruise coming up soon, then you might want to check these deals for some good prices. So when you compare that to hotels and meals and entertainment on land, cruising can actually be one of the most effective ways to travel financially. That's why I say that cruising can be surprisingly affordable, even without casino perks. However, I have used a little bit of casino play to my financial advantage. I know it is so hard to believe. We all know that in general, casinos exist to take your money. Cruise casinos offer complimentary rooms because they know most guests will gamble again once they're back on board. And most people only use those comped rooms once or twice a year. But my husband and I have figured out how to leverage that same offer for back-to-back cruises all year long. With an initial $2,000 investment and smart play in the casino, with no additional cash, we've earned hundreds of free nights and managed to cruise nearly year-round for the past 3 years. It's definitely not a strategy that everyone would be comfortable with, but for me, it's been incredibly lucrative. I have another YouTube video that breaks down the cruise costs and exactly how my strategy works. The third reason that I can afford this is minimalism. Minimalism is the foundation of our lifestyle. We have few possessions, but lots of experiences instead. We don't have a mortgage, rent, or car payments. We rarely buy anything beyond essentials. I've been a minimalist for 16 years now, but the turning point came long before that. I had once moved a Texas-sized house full of belongings from Houston to Canada, furniture, appliances, and hundreds of boxes. 6 years later, many of those boxes were still sitting unopened in my garage. Staring at them made me question why I owned any of it. That regret became the spark that pushed me toward letting go of almost everything. When I got a job in London, my husband and daughter were fully on board with the idea of simplifying. We each got down to 2 suitcases and moved to a furnished apartment in London for a year. After that, we relocated to the Netherlands, again into a furnished place, and continued living lightly. When we eventually moved back to the US, my IT consulting career required constant global travel. It made no financial sense to rent an apartment or buy furniture or pay utilities when I was rarely home. My company covered my hotel stays anytime I was on business, and our only real living expense was my husband's airfare to join me in the next city. Otherwise, he stayed in the hotel for free. We lived that way for a decade, and the more we traveled, the more minimalist we became. The freedom was addictive. I was free to spend my personal time reading, writing, drawing, pursuing intellectual thoughts, and doing projects that I found fun and interesting, all while being where we wanted to be whenever we wanted to be there. One of our regular stops was Tampa, Florida. While in Tampa, WFLA News interviewed me about my hotel life.
Could you imagine only having 2 bags of belongings if it meant staying in hotels and traveling the world? That is exactly what one author is doing, and she's currently staying here in Tampa. Libby Rome is the author of Hotel Sweet Home. She started becoming a minimalist about a decade ago. I gave up like about half of my belongings, and a couple of years later, I gave up 90% of my belongings because it just felt so freeing. I felt like my life had a lot of chaos in it, and I was definitely stuck in that consumerism cycle. I actually show in my book how living in hotels is less expensive than owning a home or renting an apartment.
At the beginning, we had 2 extra large suitcases, and then we moved to a smaller suitcase and a computer bag. Nowadays, we have just a backpack and a little tiny backpack inside of our bigger backpack. And that gives us the ability to walk up and down stairs, go through any terrain, and it just allows us to be a little lighter as we travel around rather than carrying around suitcases everywhere. And we definitely avoid flying at all costs. So suitcases just don't make as much sense unless you're flying. Every year that goes by, I embrace it more and more. So in the last few years, I actually completely gave up makeup and hair products altogether. Now, when there's, special events or more formal occasions on the ship, I have nicer clothes that I put on, but it's the same old nicer clothes over and over again. All of my clothes, I just have a handful of clothes, just what I need. So, if you start to get to know me or see these videos and you see the same clothes over and over again, it all makes sense. But this is not only just freeing, but also really helps financially too. We don't have very many costs. We very rarely need to replace anything. If I bought something, I definitely would treat it as a replacement. Why do I need 6 shirts? 5 is just fine. I have 2 pairs of shoes, etc. That's all I need. Hi, new cruise, new room. Let's talk about the monthly budget. We're currently in June 2026, and this is a pretty standard month regarding our expenses. Room and board, which is the cruises, is about $2,000, and that comes from a $66 rate that both of us pay total per day. So I have, again, another video all about that particular cost and how we get it that low. But we do have some non-cruise related expenses as well. We have a T-Mobile phone service for the both of us that is packaged with Netflix. For our mobile phones, we use T-Mobile, the Go 55 Plus plan, because it's a reasonable price and it gives us 5 gigs at 5G speed, and then after that unlimited 2G. We have iCloud. I have iCloud specifically because I deal a lot with videos and images, and so I need the extra space for storage. I also am a big fan of ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is something that we've had for several years, and it is invaluable. We have to have it. It allows you to pretend to be wherever you need to be. So, for example, if you're on a Princess cruise ship and you happen to be in Spain or France or Norway or wherever you might be, if you go to the Princess website, suddenly all of your currency is going to be in that currency, in krona or euros, for example. Or say you just want to search the web or go to a website and that website comes up in Spanish or French or Norwegian. So clearly I'm living outside the box by being a nomad, and services and companies and websites don't like that. They expect you to be in one place. So this is a way to kind of get around the challenges of moving around so much. We also have a monthly budget for things like clothes, toiletries, and miscellaneous purchases. Honestly, clothes we have very well taken care of. We have our adventure wear that we've gotten over the years, so we rarely buy new clothes. And if we do, it's because something happened to our clothes that we're wearing right now and we need to replace it. So pretty simple. The $100 also covers little miscellaneous purchases, like if we go to a pharmacy and buy toothpaste or need to upgrade our razor or something like that. And then there's credit card fee. We have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which has all kinds of benefits for travelers. So right away, even though it has a $795 fee, right away you get $300 of that back as credit as soon as you make a travel related purchase. So the actual cost is more like $495 plus all the additional benefits you get, like the insurance that's built into it and things like that. So if you take that $495 and divide it by 12, that's about $41. We do also have a storage locker for about $50 a month. We prefer to travel light with backpacks these days and not carry around everything. So even though we tried really hard for many years not to have a storage locker, having it has come in real handy. One of the things I use it for example, is storing any additional medical supplies that I have, because that could take up half my backpack sometimes if I am carrying around many months worth of supplies. I also have a budget which we give away as tips and treats and gifts and do little extras with. So sometimes I treat myself, sometimes we treat others. Most of the time we are treating others. Buying gifts is one of our favorite things to do. But overall, that's about it. If there's any other discretionary things, like for example, a friend of mine in Finland recently invited my husband and me to go horseback riding with them. Icelandic horseback riding. Oh my gosh, through a Norwegian forest. It was amazing. Anyway, it was 90 euros, which was, 45 a person. What a deal. And so that also is something that came out of the discretionary fund for the month. There are a couple of items on this list that you might expect to be there that aren't. So let me talk to those. The first is healthcare coverage. As part of my corporate career, I've been fortunate to be able to save money into a health savings account. And as part of that corporate career, until April 2026, when I resigned, I had really good health coverage. And I had all my medical supplies for type 1 diabetes recently taken care of, had a good prescription that I got a vacation override for, and I got a nice supply of those. So I'm good for the next several months, and I will have to figure out something going forward after that. In the meantime, I have this health savings account. Thank goodness I'm in Europe rather than the US. The medical costs are usually significantly lower in Europe than they are in the US. So I can pay out of pocket if there is anything that has come up. Fortunately, in these last few years of cruising, nothing has ever come up, but it's there if we need it. So that's why you're not seeing it on our standard monthly budget. It's something that I have separated out. Now let's talk about travel insurance. That's another thing that a lot of people just assume you have and expect you to have if you travel a lot. So I've been a nomad for 16 years, and in those 16 years, I did not buy travel insurance. The main reason that I don't have travel insurance is because it doesn't apply to me. It always wants you to specify your home base. And as part of being a global nomad, I don't really have a home base. Since I have no healthcare coverage in the United States, that's not a place that I would want to go to get my medical treatment. And it's not a place that I would want my body repatriated to. My family is in the Netherlands. And if something were to happen to me, then I would be perfectly fine with anything. I'm dead, so it doesn't matter. But basically, the idea is that the least expensive thing that you can do if a person dies is just have them cremated and do it locally. And actually that cremation cost, even that we've found to be much less expensive in Europe than in the US. So this seems like if the worst of the worst happens, we're going to be okay. And if there's a life flight emergency kind of a thing, we're also going to be okay. Instead, we've chosen to put money aside for the past 16 years. I'm very glad we did that, because during COVID, I was actually out of a job for a while. My husband and I both were for a year and a half. And that emergency fund allowed us to keep thriving until ultimately I got a new corporate job. So that was nice. And since I got the new corporate job after COVID, I have since been trying as hard as I can to replenish that fund. It's still not to what it was, but it's good enough, and I have something just in case
emergencies happen.
Right, time to zoom out and look at the annual budget.
There are times we're not on a cruise, so we do need to cover our costs for that time. We average about 5 weeks or 35 days on land. Our hotel, food, and transportation budget is $150 a day for those times that we're on land. So overall, our budget generally looks like this. Room and board for cruising for 330 days comes to about $22,000 for the year. Room and board when we're on land comes to about $5,200. Additional expenses that we just went over previously,
those monthly expenses are $742. So for 12 months, that's about $9,000. In the near future, I will need to purchase healthcare coverage and budget for medical needs. So I've included an estimate for that. My total annual budget is about 39,000 US dollars. That's about 29,000 British pounds or 34,000 euros.
This low cost of living has given me the ability to end my corporate career and maximize my freedom and optimize my mental health as well. Your costs would, of course, vary based on your specific needs and preferences. So the answer to the question, how do I afford this, is multiple factors and multiple decisions all working in a combination. For years, I worked remotely as an IT consultant, which allowed me to be nomadic while also saving aggressively. I followed the FIRE principles, lived below my means, and put myself in a position where I could choose the life I wanted instead of the one I felt stuck in. Then there's the fact that cruising is incredibly affordable. Whether you're in the casino or not, you could get some good deals, some good rates to keep the cruise costs low. And of course, minimalism is the engine behind it all. No mortgage, no rent, no car, no Target runs, no stuff, just the essentials and the freedom that comes with that. Minimalism isn't about giving things up. It's about giving yourself room to live. All of that together, remote work, fire savings, affordable cruise rates, and minimalism is what makes this lifestyle possible. Financially, it means my cost of living is lower than when I lived on land, but the benefits go way beyond money. I get to wake up in a new country, step outside, and breathe in a different horizon. I don't cook, clean, or run errands. I spend more time with my husband than most couples ever get. I meet people from all around the world, and I get to live a life that feels light, intentional, and honestly fun. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please give me a subscribe and like, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.